On her birthday, discover how this woman exposed her husband's betrayal and shocked everyone. Linda's heart raced as she walked into her sunlit kitchen, where her children's laughter bounced off the walls. The smell of chocolate cake filled the air, mixing with the sweet scent of homemade frosting. Today was supposed to be filled with joy, balloons, and the kind of memories that stitched families closer together. Yet, beneath the surface of that celebratory atmosphere lurked a tension she couldn't ignore. As she admired the homemade decorations her kids had slaved over, she felt a flicker of unease. Tom, her husband, had been acting a bit off lately, his smiles often not reaching his eyes. He was never absent, but something felt distant. When the kids called her for cake, she momentarily pushed her worries aside, a smile plastered on her face. "Make a wish, Mom," Maddie, her 10-year-old daughter, squealed, the excitement in her eyes a balm for her churning emotions. Linda closed her eyes, crafted a wish, and blew out the candles, their flickers mirroring the uncertainty in her heart. After serving the cake, she decided to look through old photos to post online, wanting to share their family bliss. As she reached for Tom's phone, desperate to find a picture she could attach to the post, a message notification caught her eye. She hesitated, then opened the app, believing it harmless, a mistake. Her stomach dropped as she read the words on the screen, visceral and raw. "I can't wait to see you again. The nights we've spent together mean everything to me." Linda felt her heart constrict, as if a vice were tightening around her chest. Betrayal gnawed at her insides like a hungry beast. Were those words meant for her? "Tom," she called, her voice barely a whisper through the dread. He entered the room, his smile fading as he read the panic on her face. "Is everything okay?" "No, it's not." She handed him the phone, struggling to fight the tears threatening to spill. She watched his face twist, realization crashing down on him. "I can explain," he started, but she cut him off, fury bubbling beneath her skin. "Explain what? This?" she demanded, her heart racing. Hurt and betrayal wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. The following days felt opaque, smothered by confusion and sorrow. She confronted Tom, pushing through the tumult of emotions. Conversations turned into arguments, truths laid bare, revealing insecurity and unfulfilled dreams. How could he step outside their life so blatantly? Each word from his mouth deepened her despair while igniting a flicker of resilience inside her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Linda knew she had to reclaim her voice. The upcoming community fundraiser, meant to uplift their neighbors, became her stage to expose the truth. As she stood before familiar faces, her heart thundered in her chest. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her emotional scars. "Today, I'm shedding silence," she declared, her voice unwavering despite the quivers in her heart. Gasps erupted from the crowd, the air thick with disbelief. As she unveiled the betrayal, it shook the very core of their comfortable lives, and Tom's reputation crumbled alongside her confidence. In that transformative moment, Linda was no longer just Tom's wife. She was a beacon of resilience. Would her community rally behind her? Would this revelation ignite a wave of support, or further fracture the delicate bonds they had shared? Determined to find answers, her journey was just beginning, leading her into uncharted territory where loyalty was tested. The days following the fundraiser melded into a whirlwind of mixed emotions. Linda felt buoyed by the support she received from those she never expected to stand beside her. Neighbors offered words of encouragement, and friends reached out with gentle, understanding sentiments. It was a powerful reminder that while pain could feel isolating, community could serve as a sturdy bridge. But even with these glimmers of hope, doubts gnawed at her. The echoes of Tom's denial still rang in her ears. "It was a mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen." The words played in a loop, each repetition deepening the wound. She tossed and turned in bed each night, wrestling with the decisions that lay ahead. One afternoon, in the midst of her spiraling thoughts, Linda found herself at a quaint cafe down the street. The familiar ambiance of brewing coffee and the rich aroma of pastries filled the air. Sitting alone at a corner table, she sipped her tea, lost in reflection. This was her refuge, but today it felt different, almost foreign. While the world around her bustled with life, she felt suspended in a moment of internal chaos. Suddenly the door swung open, and in walked her friend Sarah. With a busy schedule and kids of her own, Sarah rarely had time for coffee breaks, but today was different. She spotted Linda immediately and made her way over, her concern evident. "Hey you," Sarah said softly, sliding into the seat across from her. "I thought I'd find you here. I've been worried. How are you holding up?" Linda stared down at her cup, her heart heavy with words that felt trapped within. "I'm trying," she started, her voice barely above a whisper. "But some days, I feel like I'm drowning." A flicker of understanding crossed Sarah's face. "You're allowed to feel that way. It's a lot, what you've gone through. But you're so strong, Linda. You'll get through this." "Will I?" Linda questioned, looking up with watery eyes. "Because right now it feels like I'm just lost. I don't know who I am without him." The weight of that statement hung between them like a dense fog. The truth was stark. The man she had built a life with suddenly felt like a stranger. She longed to break free but feared the consequences of that choice. Sarah leaned forward, her voice dipped in compassion. "You're not just defined by your relationship. You have your own dreams, desires, and needs. What's stopping you from pursuing those?" Linda sighed, a spurt of frustration escaping her lips. "What if I step out and fail? What if I never find my way back?" "Sometimes you have to take the leap to find out," Sarah replied gently. "Maybe this is the moment for you to really discover what happiness means." Linda chewed on that thought as they finished their drinks. The idea of rediscovery felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Could she muster the courage to step into the unknown? As they left the cafe, a burst of sunlight broke through the clouds, warming her face. The world felt a little brighter, and for the first time in weeks, Linda allowed a spark of optimism to take root. Maybe it was time to rebuild, this time, one choice at a time. That evening, while preparing dinner, Linda rummaged through drawers and old notebooks in search of a pencil. As she flipped open a tattered one, she found sketches, outlines of dream projects she once had, scribbles of art, and a passion buried beneath the weight of motherhood and marriage. The sight made her heart flutter with an almost forgotten excitement. It dawned on her then. Starting over didn't mean abandoning everything. It was about embracing the possibility of a new beginning, plus rekindling what had once made her come alive. Just as she made a plan to revisit those passions, a loud knock interrupted her thoughts. It was Tom. His face was twisted in a mix of desperation and regret, his presence like a storm rolling into the serene evening. "Linda, can we talk?" he asked, his voice heavy with a mixture of dread and hope. As she opened the door wider, her heart raced. Would this conversation cement her resolve, or would it unravel all the courage she had just begun to muster? The weight of the moment settled on her shoulders, and she held her breath, uncertain of the path ahead. Linda stood at the doorway, the familiar space around her suddenly feeling like a battleground. Tom's eyes searched hers, but the look of hope was overshadowed by the palpable tension. Without a word, she stepped aside, allowing him entry, yet every inch of her screamed caution. "Sit down," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. The living room, once a sanctuary, now felt confined and gray, each piece of furniture a reminder of shared memories that suddenly seemed tainted. Tom took a seat on the edge of the couch, his posture tense. "I know I messed up. I never meant to hurt you," he began, the words spilling from his lips like a hastily delivered apology, hollow yet earnest. "Did you ever think about how your choices would affect me?" Linda shot back, unable to restrain the bite in her tone. "You say you didn't mean to hurt me, but that doesn't change what you did." Tom ran a hand through his hair, frustration mingling with regret. I know, and I'm trying to make it right." I love you, Linda. I can't lose you over this. But she shook her head, a sense of resolve slowly building within her. What you should be worried about is whether I still love you, she replied, her heart racing as she navigated this dangerous territory. I need time to think, time to figure out what's next for me. His expression shifted, confusion darting in his eyes. Next? What do you mean? Linda swallowed hard, the fear of the unknown swirling around her like a heavy fog, but she pressed on. I mean, I need to explore what my life looks like without you in it. I've lost myself in this chaos and I can't do that anymore. Tom's face fell. She could see the walls he'd built starting to crumble. You don't mean that. You're my everything. And you were my everything too, she said softly, tears forming in her eyes. But I can't be who I was before. That Linda is gone. I need to find out who I can be now. At that moment, the enormity of her words washed over them both like a tide, inviting yet intimidating. Linda marveled at her courage as she recognized this confrontation had ignited the process of reclaiming her identity. A part of her felt exhilarated, while another part trembled at the thought of what lay ahead. Please, just give me another chance, Tom pleaded, his voice cracking as reality dawned. A deep ache settled in her chest. I don't think it's that simple anymore. Trust takes time to rebuild. The air between them thickened, memories flashing through the tenuous space, happy moments now tainted by the shadow of betrayal. With each recollection, the warmth faded, leaving a chilling void. Can we at least meet again tomorrow? He asked, desperation lacing his voice. I want to fix this. I'll do whatever it takes. Linda felt a mix of anger and hope, her heart racing as she grappled with the decision that loomed in front of her. I'll think about it, she replied carefully, sensing the change within her that was relentless and irrevocable. As Tom rose to leave, a heavy silence fell between them. She watched him go, feeling the weight of a door closing, not just on him, but on a version of her life she may have to let go. With the chill of uncertainty wrapping around her, Linda dared to embrace the flickers of hope that had ignited within her during her cafe visit. The possibilities unfurled in front of her like an open road, parts of herself waiting to be rediscovered. Later that night, as she lay in bed, sleep evaded her. The room was quiet save for the ticking of the clock, a soft reminder of time passing. She pulled out her tattered notebook again, the sketches within whispering stories of unrealized dreams. Would she have the strength to truly leap into the unknown? In that vast silence, a thought surged within her. Maybe the first step to finding herself was about being brave enough to live her truth. Just as she began to put pen to paper, her phone buzzed with a message from Sarah. Hey, just checking in. Let's plan a girls' night soon to celebrate your birthday. No more hiding, okay? You deserve this. Linda smiled at the thought. It meant navigating her own path while still being anchored by the love of friends who truly cared. But then, a knock echoed from the front door again, timed perfectly to rattle her nerves. Who could it be now? With her heart racing, she glanced at the clock. Midnight. The hour of secrets. What new revelation awaited her on the other side of that door? The knock echoed once more, a sharp rap that broke the stillness of the night. Linda hesitated, the unease creeping back into her veins. She looked around her dimly lit living room, an almost funeral haze hung in the air. Who could be out there at this hour? Uncertainty clung to her like a heavy blanket. With reluctant steps, she approached the door, her heart pounding. As she reached for the handle, she took a deep breath, reminding herself that she was in control now. She pushed the door open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows just outside. Sarah? Linda squinted, recognizing her friend's silhouette. What are you doing here? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to surprise you like this, Sarah said, stepping into the light. Her eyes were wide, peering behind Linda as if searching for something, or someone. I had a feeling you might need some company. Linda's chest tightened at the urgency in her friend's voice. It's late. Are you okay? I'm fine, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we need to talk. About Tom, she declared, the gravity of the name hanging heavily between them. Linda stepped back, suddenly feeling exposed. The walls of her home, once a refuge, now felt like they were closing in. "Not now, Sarah, it's complicated. We don't have to talk about him." But Sarah didn't back down. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. "But we need to. You deserve to hear what I have to say." Linda took a deep breath, her mind racing. "What do you mean?" "It's about what's been going on with Tom. I've heard things. Things I really think you should know." "Like what?" Linda's voice came out sharper than she intended. "Like he's been seeing someone else." The words hung in the air, a chilling breeze that swept through Linda's soul. Shock washed over her, mixing with anger and hurt. "That's impossible. He wouldn't do that." "Linda." Sarah reached out, her voice trembling. "I didn't want to believe it either. But my friend saw him a few nights ago, out with someone. It didn't look like he just met her. It seemed serious." Each word sliced through the evening air like glass. Linda felt the ground beneath her shift, a familiar pain from earlier now amplified with electric intensity. "Are you sure?" "Positive. I was hoping you could talk to him, confront him. You shouldn't have to hear it from me." A tempest of emotions spiraled within her. Betrayal and sadness warred with her newfound resolve. She thought she could begin to reclaim her identity, but now it felt like that very foundation threatened to crumble again. Linda's hands trembled, and she clenched them into fists to steady herself. "I can't believe this. Not now." "Why now?" "I'm sorry, truly. But I couldn't let you keep believing everything was fine," Sarah said, tears pooling in her eyes. "I care about you too much." The weight of the revelation settled over them both. Linda could feel her heart racing, the unfathomable urge rising to confront Tom flooding her veins with adrenaline. But what if she was wrong? What if things didn't play out the way she hoped? "Maybe I should talk to him," Linda said finally, a mix of fear and determination threading her voice. "But I need to prepare myself first. I won't go in unarmed." As she spoke, a surge of courage pulsed within her. After everything she'd faced, she wouldn't allow herself to be a victim anymore. "Let's plan it. I'll call you when I'm ready." Sarah nodded, her support bolstering Linda's resolve. But as Linda stepped back into her quiet home, she felt the familiar prickle of doubt slithering in. Was she really ready to confront Tom? And what would she do if everything she feared was true? Lost in her thoughts, she caught her reflection in the darkened window. A strong woman stared back at her. But was she ready to embrace that identity fully? The moonlight illuminated an open page in her notebook, the untapped potential of her dreams beckoning her as she flicked her pen back into motion. But before she could scribble down her thoughts, her phone buzzed again. It was a message from Tom, simple, yet loaded. "Can we talk? I miss you." How could she respond, knowing what she now knew? With a deep breath, she closed her eyes, feeling the weight of every decision crashing down again. Would she summon the courage to face him? And how could she prepare for the truths that lay ahead? The night stretched on, each second echoing in the silence of Linda's home. She sat on the couch staring at her phone. Tom's message pulsed with an urgency that insisted she respond, but the words felt heavy, caught in her throat. It was her birthday tomorrow. A day that was supposed to brim with joy, now threatened to drown her in overwhelming sorrow. Just yesterday, she'd dreamed of celebrating with Tom, laughter and cake surrounded by friends. Now, shadows of betrayal loomed over her, and all she could see were the cracks in their seemingly perfect life. Linda picked up her notebook instead, flipping through the pages filled with aspirations and goals. She had been working on self-improvement, trying to carve out her own path amid the chaos of their relationship. But what good were dreams when the foundation of her heart was crumbling? As she scribbled her thoughts, her pen trembled. She was designing her future, one that didn't include Tom or his secrets. The fury boiling inside gave her strength. She recalled Sarah's words, the certainty in her voice. She felt a flicker of hope ignite. Maybe this was the moment she had been waiting for. The moment to take back her power. With each letter she penned, her determination grew. "I will not be fooled," she wrote. underlining the statement like a mantra. I deserve honesty and respect. The digital chime of her phone broke her concentration, the screen lighting up with Tom's name. Her heart raced, caught between wanting to respond and wanting to curl up and hide. The impulse to respond came from deep within, a fight between the woman she used to be and the warrior she was becoming. After a moment's hesitation, she typed back, "We need to talk. Meet me at the cafe, 10 a.m. She hit send before her doubts could spiral out of control, sealing her commitment to confront him. Linda stood up, shaking off the heavy cloak of apprehension. She began to tidy her living space, putting on some music, something upbeat that echoed the vibrant energy she felt rising within her. Every song told a story of resilience and power, daring her to reclaim her joy regardless of what tomorrow might bring. Her mind flickered back to moments with Tom, the good times, the laughter. Could they still exist? Could love be rebuilt from the ashes of betrayal? But deep down, she sensed the truth. Sometimes, love needed to be released to allow space for self-love. As she paced around the room, she glanced at the clock, ticking closer to midnight. She felt the transformation begin to settle within her. Her birthday was going to be different this year. No more hiding, no more pretending. The celebration would be a declaration of independence, not just from Tom, but from the fears that had haunted her. And then, with the intensity of a fresh revelation, another thought struck her. What if she gathered her friends, shared the truth about Tom? She wanted to turn this painful chapter into a fierce declaration of who she was becoming. If he was indeed seeing someone else, she wouldn't let it break her. She'd face it with undeniable strength and allow herself to feel fully, heal fully. But as she envisioned herself flourishing in the face of adversity, a darker thought came creeping in. What would she do if Tom denied it? If he turned the tables, making her doubt her own intuition? She had to be prepared, no matter what lay ahead. The night deepened, the moon offering a sliver of light through the window, illuminating her path. But as her resolve solidified, a new message chimed through. I will be there. We'll figure it out. Her heart sank. Even if he meant it, did she truly want to figure out a life with him? Questions continued to swirl within her, teasing the edges of her anger and hope. Tomorrow would bring revelations that would change everything. Could integrity be shaped in the aftermath of betrayal? And what if, amid the chaos, she found clarity? As the clock neared midnight, Linda closed her eyes and whispered a silent promise to herself. This year, she would reclaim her happiness, no matter the cost. But a part of her still wondered, how would the truth unfold? And would she find the strength to face whatever awaited her? The sun rose softly, casting golden light across Linda's bedroom. She blinked awake, the glow feeling foreign against the heavy weight settled on her chest. Today was her birthday. The clock flashed 7 a.m., a reminder that time was slipping through her fingers. With a deep breath, she pushed herself out of bed, pulling on a comfy sweater. She needed comfort today, more than ever. As she shuffled to the kitchen, the smells of fresh coffee and the sound of the coffee machine brewing filled the silence. Each small ritual felt necessary, grounding her in a world now swathed in uncertainty. While pouring herself a cup, she considered the day ahead. What if Tom tried to charm her, to make her second-guess everything? Could she hold on to her resolve? She poured a splash of milk in her coffee, watching it swirl, chasing away any lingering shadows that threatened to settle in her heart. She had to remind herself of her worth, time and again. As she sipped her coffee, her phone chimed again. It was a message from Sarah. Birthday girl, want to meet for breakfast? I have surprises. Linda felt a warmth spread through her at the thought of her friend. She needed support, someone who would help keep her grounded. She texted back, yes, let's meet at 9. After a quick shower, she dressed in her favorite jeans and a flowy top. It was simple yet made her feel bright and alive. Standing in front of the mirror, she applied a touch of makeup, a way to armor herself before diving into the day's turmoil. You can do this, she whispered, convincing herself as she practiced a smile. Arriving at the cafe, she was met by the comforting chatter of familiar voices. The smell of fresh pastries enveloped her, calling forth a sense of home. and there was Sarah, waving enthusiastically. Linda's heart lifted at the sight of her. She rushed over and wrapped her friend in a warm hug. "Happy birthday! You look stunning!" Sarah exclaimed, pulling back to look at her. "Thanks. I needed today to feel special, even with everything going on," Linda replied. Once seated, they talked about everything and nothing, catching up on life moments. But soon the conversation shifted. "So, have you thought about how you'll handle Tom?" Sarah asked gently, concern etched on her face. Linda felt a lump form in her throat, but she nodded. "Yes, it's time to confront him. I have questions that need answering." Her voice was shaky, but determination threaded through each word. The table fell into a comfortable silence as Sarah squeezed her hand. "You're stronger than you think, Linda. Whatever happens, I'm here for you." As the clock edged closer to 10 a.m., Linda's stomach twisted with nerves. She felt the walls surrounding her begin to vibrate, the anticipation mixing with anxiety. "Are you ready for this?" Sarah asked softly. "Almost," Linda replied, taking a deep breath, envisioning the cafe where she would soon confront Tom. Scenarios played out in her mind like a movie reel. Would he lie? Would he admit the truth? Could she face whatever he threw her way? "Just remember, you deserve the truth," Sarah encouraged. Feeling a surge of strength, Linda nodded again. The customer bell jingled, signaling the entry of new patrons. But her focus was sharpened now, the noise fading into the background as she realized a profound truth. She was no longer just bracing for impact. She was ready to take back her life. As they finished their breakfast, Linda's body buzzed with a rush of bravery. The stakes were high, and her heart raced in anticipation. "Let's go. It's time," she said, rising from her seat, leading the way toward a future that was still uncertain, but undeniably hers to claim. Linda walked out, her heart pounding in time with her steps. With every movement she could almost taste freedom, the sweet nectar of self-empowerment urging her forward. But then, just as they reached the door of the cafe, her phone buzzed again, and she glanced down to see a message from Tom. "I'm here. Where are you?" Her fingers hovered over the screen, the heavy truth threatening to reveal itself. The moment had finally arrived. Would she stand strong, or would doubt creep back in? Linda stared at her phone, heart racing. The words felt like a punch in the gut. "Where are you?" How could he even ask? It was as if he had no idea of the havoc he had unleashed in her life. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "Let's do this," she said, determined to put one foot in front of the other. Linda shot a glance at Sarah, who looked at her with unwavering support. "I have to respond." "You've got this," Sarah replied, confidence in her voice. Linda typed a quick reply, "I'm on my way." As they stepped outside into the warm sunlight, her stomach twisted with both fear and excitement. The world around her seemed to move in slow motion. The laughter of children playing nearby contrasted sharply with the storm brewing inside her. Tom's car was parked across the street, shiny and unassuming, and it felt way too normal for her current state of mind. They approached, Linda's heart thundering in her chest. "I need to know why he did it," she murmured to Sarah, fear narrowing her gaze. "You will," Sarah assured her. "You're in control today." Linda nodded firmly. The last few months had hollowed her out, but today she felt a flicker of that old fire reignite. Tom was leaning against the car, a casual smile plastered on his face. But as soon as he caught sight of Linda's expression, his demeanor shifted from relaxed to guarded. "Hey, you made it," he called out as if nothing was amiss. "Yeah, here I am," she replied, forcing herself to keep her voice steady. She looked over at Sarah for strength, and her friend nodded, a reassuring smile brimming with hope. "Can we talk?" Linda asked, her voice firmer now as she crossed her arms. "Sure, what's up?" he said, trying to play it cool, but she could see the flicker of concern in his eyes. Linda took a deep breath, feeling the heat of uncertainty rush through her. "I've been thinking about us." Tom opened his mouth to speak, but she raised a hand to halt him. "Let me finish." She felt connected to her words, each syllable a tiny liberation. "I know about the messages. I know about her," she said, letting the truth hang between them. "You lied to me." The color drained from his face, and for a moment all the past feelings, the love, the heartbreak, the confusion, swirled intensely within her. This was the moment she had dreamed of, a moment of confrontation. "Linda, I can explain." Tom stuttered, scrambling for words that wouldn't change anything. "No," she snapped, the frustration spilling over. "You don't get to explain. You don't get to lie to me and then act like everything is fine. This isn't some happy reunion. This is me saying enough is enough." Sarah, lingering nearby, felt the tension crackle in the air. "You can't just brush this off, Tom," she added, her calm demeanor shifting to a protective stance. "Linda deserves to know the truth." Tom's expression shifted from surprise to anger. "This is ridiculous. I didn't cheat. You're both so misguided." "Misguided?" Linda countered, feeling a fire in her belly. "I'm not misguided. I'm done living in your shadow of lies." The truth punctured the air like a thunderclap, and suddenly she felt lighter, empowered. This was her moment, a long-awaited reclamation of self. "Whatever," Tom muttered, glancing away as if deflecting her words, the facade of the charming husband crumbling before her eyes. "Just look at what you've done," she shot back, unable to hold back the tears. "You've hurt me, and now you're trying to weasel your way out of it." In that instant, Linda saw him not as the loving partner she thought she knew, but as a stranger whose lies had created a shadow over her life. The silence stretched painfully between them. As she stared into his eyes, Linda wondered if this was the end of their story, or just the beginning of something new. But just as that thought settled in her mind, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a group message. "Let's celebrate your birthday tonight." It was from Sarah and a few others, their excitement palpable. Linda felt a rush of gratitude for her friendships. It was time to celebrate, not just her birthday, but her journey. "Yes," she exclaimed, glancing back at Tom. "I will walk away from this. I will heal." And with that resolve, she picked up her phone again, her thumb hovering over the screen. Would she finally break free from his grasp? What happens next, she thought, caught in the uncertainty of her own brave new beginning. Linda's heart raced as her mind battled between lingering hurt and newfound empowerment. She flicked her gaze back to Tom, whose expression was a mix of irritation and desperation. The vulnerability of moments before felt like a fresh wound, but it was her birthday, and it was time to reclaim the day. "Linda, can we just talk this out like adults?" Tom attempted to soften the tension, voice low and steady, but she felt the insincerity in his tone. For all his charm, he was just a man who had broken trust. "No more talking," she burst out, sharper than she intended. Tears stung her eyes, but she blinked them away. "I'm not interested in your sweet words anymore. You've had your chance. Now it's my turn." Linda felt her phone vibrate again in her pocket. It was another message from Sarah. "Don't forget to wear something fun tonight. We're ready to party." A spark of joy ignited within her, competing with the weight of her confrontation. With a shaky breath, she stepped back, breaking the electric tension. "You know what? I deserve to celebrate. I deserve better than to live in your shadow." Tom's calm mask had slipped. "You're being dramatic," he shot back, but Linda found strength in the way he tried to undermine her feelings. "Dramatic? You think this is dramatics? You shattered my trust, Tom. That's real." Her voice wavered but didn't crack. "You can't keep manipulating the story. I'm writing my own chapter now." She turned her back to him, walking a few steps away. She needed distance, needed to breathe. The sunlight that kissed her skin felt like a warm invitation, pulling her towards what life could be without the weight of betrayal. Sarah joined her, wrapping an arm around her shoulder. "You're incredible. Let's go." As they crossed the street towards the nearby cafe where the others were waiting, Linda felt the tension in her chest begin to dissolve. She glanced over her shoulder one last time at Tom, who stood frozen by the car, confusion and regret etched on his face. "How did I ever let him take so much from me?" she thought, a slight smile breaking through the hurt. No more. Inside the cafe, colorful balloons bounced in the breeze. Laughter rang out, bright and cheerful, as her friends waved her over. They were a kaleidoscope of love and support. Linda took a deep breath, letting the joy wash over her. "Happy birthday!" they all cheered, and she felt the warmth of their love wrap around her like a blanket. In the center of the table, a small cake flickered with candles, each flame brighter than the turmoil she had just navigated outside. She turned to her friends, laughter bubbling up. She felt lighter, free, reborn in a way she never expected. "Make a wish," Sarah prompted, nudging her gently. For a brief moment, Linda closed her eyes and found herself wishing for the courage to embrace whatever lay ahead. As she opened her eyes and blew out the candles, she felt a space of possibility open up within her. But as they dug into cake and shared stories, laughter dancing in the air, a shadow loomed at the door. Tom had followed them inside, looking lost and hesitant. Linda's stomach dropped. What was he doing here? The room fell silent as all eyes turned to him, and in that moment she could feel the tension returning. Her heart raced again, not from fear, but from an unfamiliar thrill. Could this be the moment she truly defines her path? "Linda," he started, and the air thickened. Would she have the strength to face him again in front of everyone? Linda's breath hitched as she locked eyes with Tom. Time seemed to freeze, the chatter of her friends fading into a background hum. She could feel every heartbeat in her ears, echoing her uncertainty. The air felt charged, electrified with the weight of what had just happened outside. "Linda," Tom repeated, desperation lingering in his voice, but she clenched her fists, a wave of determination rolling over her. This was her moment, not his. "Why are you here, Tom?" she asked, forcing each word out. The tremor in her voice was overshadowed by her resolve. "You wanted to talk? You had your chance. Look, I know I messed up, he started to say, but Linda raised her hand, cutting him off. "Stop." She felt the room's eyes on her. Her friends were on high alert, caught in the tension of the moment. "This is my birthday. I'm not dragging the pain from the past into my celebration." A murmur rippled through the group, surprise flickering on their faces. Sarah stood beside her, eyes narrowed toward Tom, as if ready to fire back at any nonsense he might say. Tom fidgeted, his bravado cracking. "I came to apologize. I know I hurt you," he implored, his voice still low but tinged with a hint of anger. "But I'm trying to come clean. You need to hear me out." "No," Linda said firmly. She felt a warm rush of strength. "I've heard you out plenty. I trusted you, and you broke that trust. You made your choices. Now it's my turn to make mine." Shivers of unease ran through her as Tom took a step closer, a plea in his eyes. "I can change. Just give me that chance." His tone shifted, now tinged with urgency. "Change?" Linda scoffed, a laugh escaping her that felt foreign. "You think I haven't heard that before? Change requires more than just words, Tom. It demands respect, and for too long, you didn't respect me." The quiet gasps of shock from her friends filled the space. For a moment, Linda felt dizzy from the power of her own words. They weren't just a shield. They were a weapon, a declaration of her self-worth. "Linda, please." He started again, but she shook her head, sending his voice spiraling back into the silence. "Not today. Not anymore." She breathed deep, letting the finality of her words settle around her like a light cloak of protection. "I'm tired of being pulled back into your drama. I'm moving forward." She turned slightly, feeling the warmth of her friend's support behind her like an invisible wall. They glanced at each other, a flurry of nods and hushed whispers as confusion lingered in the air. Tom opened his mouth, but his words dissolved into a sigh. Defeat played out on his features. The weight of the room was heavy, each heart beating in sync with the uncertainty of what came next. Linda felt a flicker of concern for him, but it was quickly swallowed by her own resolve. "It's time for you to leave, Tom." At that moment, a spark of courage ignited deep within her spirit, transforming her fear into righteous power. She wasn't just ready to celebrate her birthday. She was ready to take back her life. As Tom's shoulders sagged, A small gasp from Sarah broke through Linda's focus. Guys? Linda turned to her friend just in time to see her pointed gaze shift toward the entrance. Is that? They all turned, eyes going wide as another figure filled the doorway. A tall man, his presence radiating confidence and warmth. Linda's heart jolted in the strangest way. Who is that? She wondered, caught between the looming shadow of Tom and this new light entering the room. Suddenly, the burdens of the past and the promise of the future collided. What would this man mean for her journey? Would he be part of the story she was writing? Caught in the gaze of her friends and the unresolved emotions from Tom, she had no answers. Only questions, swirling in the air as her birthday took a turn she couldn't have expected. Linda's heart raced as the new figure stepped into the cafe, his presence instantly commanding attention. He radiated warmth, his smile genuine as he scanned the room. Was he here for her? Could this stranger, with his easy charisma, hold the possibility of a fresh start? Tom's expression twisted in confusion and resentment, as if he felt the ground shift beneath him. A part of Linda felt a rush of guilt for how easily her heart stirred at the sight of someone new. But as she turned back to Tom, that guilt vanished. This isn't your moment anymore, she reminded herself. What do you want, Tom? She asked sharply, her voice breaking through the turmoil around them. Linda, please, just listen, he implored, desperation quaking in his voice. No, she shot back, her heart pounding. You've had your chance to speak. This isn't just about you anymore. She gestured toward her friends, their eyes wide, reflecting support and a spectrum of emotions. Tom's shoulders sagged, his bravado draining away. But instead of sympathy, Linda felt a wave of strength wash over her, fueled by decisions she'd made in the quiet corners of her heart over the past weeks. I'm done being the person who bends and breaks for you, she continued. I refuse to be defined by your actions or your failures. Her voice filled the cafe like a sudden breeze, rallying her friends to stand even more firmly at her side. She could feel their warmth wrapping around her, a steadfast column of support. Tom took a step back, pain etched on his face, and the urgency in his demeanor faltered. I'm sorry, Linda. I never wanted this to happen. I'm sure you didn't, she replied softly but firmly, but I can't live in the shadow of what-ifs or I'm sorries anymore. Just then, the tall man moved closer, his eyes darting between her and Tom. Excuse me, he said, smoothing his hands through his tousled hair. Is everything all right? Linda looked up, surprised to find an openness in his gaze, warmth that pulled at whatever fragments of hope she thought had been washed away. Everything will be, she replied, her voice suddenly stronger, the timbre shimmering with newfound confidence. I'm moving on, no more looking back. Then I'll leave, Tom said quietly, the acceptance in his tone oddly soothing for both of them. You should, Linda affirmed, a wave of relief washing over her. This chapter was over. It was finally time to say goodbye to the pain of betrayal and embrace a path sprinkled with hope. The door closed softly behind Tom, the weight of tension that had hung in the air dissipating like morning fog. As surprise turned to joyous mirth, her friends rallied around her, shrieking in celebration. You did it, Sarah cheered, pulling Linda into a fierce embrace. Before she could respond, the tall man stepped closer, offering his hand. I'm Nate, he said, his smile warm and genuinely inviting. And I couldn't help but overhear. You handled that incredibly well. Thank you, Linda replied, a nervous flutter dancing in her belly. It all just happened. Maybe it was meant to happen, he said, his voice smooth as honey. I've always believed that life brings us exactly what we need, when we need it the most. In that moment, their eyes met, and something clicked. It was as if this moment had been waiting for her all along, a gentle nudge towards something greater than herself. The room buzzed with laughter and chatter again, the cloud of tension having now lifted. Linda felt an exhilarating sense of freedom. It was like stepping out into the sunlight after a long storm. Hey, let's get back to celebrating your birthday, Sarah exclaimed, breaking her reverie. "You deserve to feel all the love today, Linda." "Absolutely," Linda echoed, her spirits roaring to life. She turned back to Nate, who offered his arm with a playful grin. "Would you be my partner in crime for this celebration?" He laughed, and Linda couldn't help but smile, feeling a sense of lightness she hadn't felt in a long time. "I'd be honored." As they made their way to the table, filled with colors, candles, and the scent of cake, Linda couldn't shake the feeling that she was on the brink of something remarkable. That day was not just about cake and laughter. It was about reclamation, about embracing the joy that lay ahead. As the candles flickered, surrounded by laughter and camaraderie, Linda closed her eyes once more. This time her wish was not about the past, but about the future. A future filled with potential and the promise of new beginnings. When she blew out the candles, she opened her eyes to see not just a room full of friends, but a community, ready to uplift her as she walked her newfound path. Today was her birthday, yes, but it was also the day she reclaimed herself, shedding the weight of betrayal for good. And she was ready to embrace whatever came next. This was it. Her time to rise, to thrive, and to become who she was always meant to be. As laughter erupted around her, excitement danced in the air, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Linda smiled, truly smiled. She felt alive, more than alive, ready for the beginning of her brand new chapter. So let's shout it from the rooftops. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exciting chapter in Linda's journey. Leave a like right this second to fuel our fire. Comment below your thoughts on this incredible transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with 5 friends who need a little inspiration in their lives. Together, let's keep this wave of empowerment rolling.